What I want to do is explain our church. About 17 years ago, a committee came together so that we can build the church. And the committee was talking about different things that they wanted to do for our church. And one of the important things was they wanted the building to speak for itself. And so therefore, when you look at the church building, you notice that it is Gothic in style. Gothic, it soars upwards. The purpose is that the church is to direct all of our prayers and intentions towards God. And so we built a church in that fashion. Now we're going to kind of step in and break open all the different things in the church. We're going to begin in the narthex. As you notice, as we're walking into church, we have St. Michael the Archangel, who's the protector of the faith. He is the one who stands before God as one who wants to keep the church safe from all kinds of evil. As we enter into the narthex, the very first things that we also notice are over each of the windows, the four marks of the church. 1, holy, Catholic, and apostolic. The marks of the true church are 1, holy, Catholic, and apostolic. And as you may notice, when we come to the 1, una, you will notice a triangle and a trifold. The triangle and trifold are symbols of God, the Trinity. 1 God, 3 divine persons. In the middle of that is the shell with the waters of baptism. How we enter into the relationship with God is through baptism. You also notice that there is a book, the Scriptures, and there are 2 Greek letters, the Alpha and the Omega. The Alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet. The Omega is the last. The Jesus is the beginning and end. You also notice in this the tiara with the keys. The tiara is a symbol of the Holy Father, who is the Pope, who is the successor to St. Peter's, and Jesus Christ gave to Peter and to his successors the keys to the kingdom of heaven. The first mark of the church. The second mark of the church is holy, Santa. And therefore we depicted the holiness of the church by using an angel who is before God with incense, which is a symbol of worship, that he is holy, like holy, 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 Lord God of hosts. The third mark of the church is Catholica, Catholic, which also means universal. And how we depicted that is by using the globe in a flattened fashion. And so that the Catholic faith, the true faith, is for everyone. No one particular people, but everyone. It's 1, holy, Catholic, and apostolic. And in this picture, you will notice 3 figures. St. Peter, the first pope, with the keys in his hands. In front of him is a bishop. In front of him is a priest. So it's through the apostolic succession, the laying on of hands, that to this very day shows that it is the true church. So the true church is 1, holy, Catholic, and apostolic. We're in the narthex. But from the narthex, we then step into the nave of the church. But we have 2 angels on either side, because when you're in the church, it's where heaven and earth touch. And so those angels are also a reminder to us that we are going into a holy place. When we transition from the narthex, we then go into the church. So let's step into the church proper, the nave. When we step into the nave, as we face forward, we notice the reredos. With the heart of the reredos is the crucifix. But we also, as we begin to walk into the church, notice the major stained glass windows, the Nativity, and the Resurrection. When we were designing the church, we wanted people to realize that through the birth, death, and resurrection of Jesus comes our call to holiness. But Americans say, how can we be holy? We're American. And therefore, our small stained glass windows, St. John Neumann, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, and then on this side, St. Catherine Drexel, Mother Cabrini. And then you come around and you see Carderai Tekakwitha, Pierre Toussaint, you see St. Isaac Jogues, and you see Juan Diego. All American. Some North America, some South America. And so with the small stained glass windows are saying to us, we're Americans, they're Americans. They strive to live their ordinary life in an extraordinary way by following Jesus. They did it, so can we. But also, interestingly enough, St. John Neumann, closest to the altar, Mother Catherine Drexel, closest to the altar, have a Philadelphia connection. I'm sure you've all heard of Drexel University. Mother Catherine Drexel is of the Drexel family. However, she gave her life to God, and the fortune that would have went to her, she used to assist in the ministry of the nuns that she founded to take care of American Indians and Black Americans. St. John Neumann was a bishop of Philadelphia. He came from Bohemia. He went and eventually became the Bishop of Philadelphia. So the two of them, because they're Philadelphians, I put closest to the altar. But also the reason they're closest to the altar is St. John Neumann started 40 hours in this country, Eucharistic devotions. And Mother Catherine Drexel founded the Sisters, and their charism is the Eucharist. That's why they're the closest. The other two small stained glass windows, Elizabeth Seton and Mother Cabrini, also had a Pennsylvania connection. Mother Seton was born into a wealthy Episcopalian family. She married, and it was William Seton. They had 5 children. Her husband got sick. They went to Italy for the weather. They met Catholicism there. It drew her closer. Her husband had died. She became a sister and founded a religious community of women that founded schools and teaching. Emmitsburg, Pennsylvania. You have Mother Cabrini, an Italian. She wanted to be a religious and she wanted to be a missionary. And the Bishop of Lodi said, there is no such thing here. If you want to do that, you're going to have to find a community. She founded a community, and then she came to the United States, found many houses, hospitals, orphanages, and schools. So they have a very local flavor. When we look at Carderai Tekakwitha, she was an Indian maiden who had a deep love of God. Her own people shunned her because she accepted the faith that she got through her mother. Next is Pierre Toussaint. He was a house slave in Haiti. His master and wife moved to New York, brought him with them. He comes to this country. He then becomes a hairdresser, always very charitable, and he began to have some of his wealthy customers give towards his charitable works. If you notice in his stained glass window, you see a little bit of a church in the background. That's St. Patrick's Church in New York. That's because he's buried there under the altar. When we come over to this side, you see St. Isaac Jogues. He was a missionary to the Huron Indians. One time going from one place to another, he was captured by the Iroquois, tortured, but he escaped, went back to France, came back to this country to do mission work, and was martyred. You have Juan Diego, but in that image you also see the Blessed Mother. And here she appears as an Indian maiden, Our Lady of Guadalupe. She appears to him calling his name. He looks around, he sees this Indian maiden, and she says, I want a church built on this hill. Go to the bishop. Well, he goes to the bishop. Bishop just, said, that's okay, very nice, goodbye. He goes back again, very nice, goodbye. The third time, when she appears, he had a tilma, a cape. And you see the flowers in the bottom of the cape there? He went back to the bishop, this time when he opened up the cape, it wasn't flowers in there, it was the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And the bishop built the church. What I also wanted to point out is when we talk about the stained glass window of John Neumann, behind him you also see a church. And that's our cathedral in Philadelphia. So the two stained glass windows of Pierre Toussaint and St. John Neumann, we have in the background the stained glass of the churches that are respectively theirs.